Inspiring news out of Nebraska. Yeah, how often do we get to say that? Like in a lot of places, Republicans are pushing an anti-trans bill through the state legislature. But this time, an incredible state senator is speaking out. And speaking and speaking and speaking.
A Democratic lawmaker taking a stand against what she says is attacks on fundamental human rights. This is out of Nebraska, where a Republican bill is trying to ban what they call gender-affirming care to people who are under 19 years old. Now, this Democratic state senator is halting all business in the chamber and filibustering, or vowing a kind of obstruction set of tactics that work in Nebraska for the last 3 weeks, saying she'll burn the session to the ground over this bill.
During her filibuster, she has discussed everything from her favorite Girl Scout cookies to the plot of the movie Madagascar.
If this legislature collectively decides that legislating hate against children is our priority, then I am going to make it painful for everyone.
Hell yeah! All right. Look, at a time when so many of us are all talk, she's actually... Okay, well, she's all talk too, but in a useful way. And I'm sure it's hard for Senator Kavanaugh to come up with stuff to say for 3 weeks straight, but it means a lot to so many families that someone is fighting for them. And it also means a lot to DreamWorks that someone is still talking about Madagascar. I mean, it's not their best movie, honestly. Anyway, just today, Kavanaugh finally got Republicans to agree to an actual debate on this bill, which they were trying to avoid. This is great if you're into civility. I personally would have just gone nuclear and just been like, kill this bill now or I spoil the end of The Last of Us. Let's get to today's big news. The collapse of Sillicon Valley Bank. I know it's impossible to believe that a town that could spend $500,000 on this ape would have financial problems. But somehow it happened. SVB was the 16th largest bank in the country and the favorite bank of tech bros, disruptors, and anyone who's ever invented Uber, but for weed. So here's what happened, okay? SVB invested a lot of their clients' money on a bet that interest rates wouldn't go up. And when interest rates did go up, they started losing their clients' money. Then they told their clients, hey, don't freak out, but we're losing your money. So, of course, everyone immediately freaked out and ran to the bank to take out all their money before it collapsed, which then caused the bank to collapse. It was like that bank run scene from It's a Wonderful Life, but if everyone was wearing Patagonia vests. And look, people are legitimately scared this could spread to banks across the country. So to stop the panic, the federal government took the bank over and promised everyone that they'd get their money back. And it's kind of funny because some of the companies who had money at the bank were screaming on social media that the government needed to come and save them. That's right. All those tech bros who complain about being under the government's yoke were suddenly like, oh no, my money's gone? Yoke me, Daddy! So that's basically what happened. But if you're looking for an explanation of why SVB failed that doesn't require you to learn about interest rates, well, Fox News got you covered.
Part of the problem is that this was one of those woke banks.
They were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy.
This bank, they're so concerned with DEI and politics and all kinds of stuff.
This bank, Silicon Valley Bank, they had been focused on a lot of these social issues in the last weeks and months leading up to this collapse.
They had a month-long LGBTQ month of activities just before the bank collapsed.
I think the senior vice president of risk management at the bank was heavily focused on LGBTQ plus programs.
The female head of risk management spent a lot of time spearheading what critics would call woke programs, such as a safe space for coming out stories.
Oh, right. The female head of risk management. That explains it. She probably spent the bank's money on shoes and abortions. Let's kick things off with a big announcement from President Joe Biden. You remember during the 2020 campaign, Biden said this.
By the way, no more drilling on federal lands, period. Period, period, period.
Period, period, period. Comma. Because now Biden has approved a major oil drilling project on federal land in Alaska, which is disappointing. But hey, when you're that age, that's the only kind of drilling you can do. No, come on, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This guy The crazy part about this drilling project is that they'll be installing a device called a thermosiphon that keeps the permafrost solid enough for drilling while it simultaneously melts due to global warming. Guess ConocoPhillips has an irony division? I mean, keeping the permafrost alive so they can kill it slowly, that's like some Silence of the Lambs serial killer shit. Would you the planet? I'd the planet. I worked at the White House. Now, thank you. Now listen. The good news is that Biden is also flip-flopping in a good way. Because back in the day, Biden used to think marijuana was a gateway drug. But now he's doing stuff like this.
President Biden is offering help to people who have a federal conviction for simple marijuana possession. They can now apply for a presidential pardon. To qualify, applicants must have been charged or convicted in federal court or D.C. Superior Court before October 6th of last year.
This is huge! And this is long overdue, yeah! And look, heartfelt, this is a moment of special congrats to the advocates who have been pushing for this for so long. They really did it. Now, they convinced someone with 5 decades of experience in Washington to change his mind. That's not easy. That would be like convincing Mitch McConnell to let Democrats appoint judges or convincing Chuck Schumer that his glasses should be resting on the top of his nose. Top. In any case, if you're wondering what the Oval Office looks like now that Joe Biden is a total stoner, it probably looks something like this. It's the same. It's 2023. People who smoke weed don't put tapestries on their wall anymore. I mean, yeah, the portrait of George Washington does glow in black light now, but that's it. Mostly the same. Believe it or not, we are just around the corner from the 2024 presidential election. And there are so many important issues. How to deal with China, what to do about climate change, whether Miley Cyrus can really hold her own hand. How does that even work? But based on what we're hearing from Republican candidates and right-wing media, there's one issue that looms larger than all of that. It's the threat posed by a deadly virus, and probably not the one you're thinking of.
Wokeness is a virus more dangerous than any pandemic, hands down.
I think it's all because of the woke mind virus.
What if woke race obsession is not a fad, but instead an incurable brain virus that's infected our country's entire leadership class?
This woke mind virus.
The woke mind virus.
The woke mind virus.
It is a virus.
Yeah. Republicans are terrified of the woke mind virus. I mean, to be clear, not terrified enough to support public health care to treat it, but terrified. Now, I am not a doctor, as my parents remind me daily, but I did play Dr. Lawrence Kuttner on the hit TV show House. Thank you. And I realized, look, if anyone could find a cure for the woke mind virus, it'd be those guys.
So I actually feel fine. Am I okay to leave now?
Not quite. Your brain's been swollen. Not enough to see, but enough to alter your personality.
I'm so sorry. We believe that it's the woke mind virus. But we have to ask you a few questions to confirm. Are you pissed off that Mr. Potato Head doesn't have a penis?
What? No. Who gives a shit?
There's a trans swimmer at the local 8th grade meet. That sound fair to you?
I don't care. How does this diagnose me?
Okay, last question. Does racism still exist?
Yes.
You could start saying Latinx any minute.
I'm sorry, what is going on here?
This is the greatest threat facing civilization. The great Dr. Elon Musk says so.
But I'm not sick, although this nonsense is kind of giving me a headache.
Mr. Morgenthau, I know that you don't feel like you have this.
Morgenthau, it's one of them Jew names. crimes.
What the
Let me ask you this. Do you agree that drag shows are a greater threat than school shootings?
No, of course not. And I don't have any woke mind virus either. I'm just trying to be an empathetic person.
Okay, we're losing him. We need to get you into a CRT scan.
Don't you mean a CT scan? No. You know what? I'm gonna check myself out.
Knock him out.
Okay. What happened? Am I okay?
Let's find out. What are your pronouns?
My pronouns. My pronouns. My pronouns are kiss my ass.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay. Although you do have lupus, I probably should have led with that.
Oh no.
The Supreme Court is considering striking down your student debt relief decision. What's the plan if that happens?
Well, first of all, the constitutional scholars I've spoken to say the people challenging it have no standing. I mean, the court is ultimately, as much as they want to rule, I think they're going to have to rule that it was appropriate for what I did, number one. Number two, if you think about it, we had this PPP program. That is the program during the pandemic. People lost their businesses because they had to shut down, restaurants closed, blah, blah, blah. And so we provided billions of dollars, significantly more than helping students with their debt. And a number of the very people who criticized me in Congress actually got benefits in the program. You don't hear them talking about it, right? The average student who will benefit from my student loan forgiveness program is somebody making less than 90% make $70,000 or less. They're just trying to get out of the hole. They're just trying to get started. They're just trying to get up and running. And so it is overwhelmingly in the interest of the economy. It's a fair thing to do, and it's going to generate economic growth that's significant. I understand them worrying. I understand. I don't know whether people realize, a lot of parents realize, how much of a burden this is. You get out of school, there were no jobs when you graduated initially because of the pandemic. You got a debt that is, in most cases, exceeding $10,000 loan you got, or grant you got. And it's really a gigantic burden. You want to grow the economy, you want these people being able to go out and make a down payment on a home, be able to go out and start a business, be able to go out and be free to the debt so they can invest in things that they care about. And it's just so short-sighted if they don't.
Bubba Wallace is one of the biggest stars in the sport, and he happens to agree.
I think, from outside looking in, especially minorities, feel the stigma's been there that they're not welcome. And I've always been like, that's not really true. I've been in NASCAR, my career has been 20 years. Yeah, 20 years is about right.
Aren't you like 29?
I'm 29, yeah.
Okay, wow. I can tell you right now, there is no New Jersey parent who would let their kid drive at 9. So I always get the question, what's it like being an Indian American actor? I would imagine it also drives you insane to get the question, what's it like being a black driver? So what's it like being a black driver?
So clickbait and news outlets, they have to get their viewership up, and the way they do that is black driver. I don't walk around saying I'm the black driver. So you embrace it and you go out and enjoy what you do.
After I got my media clickbait, we moved on to an issue that everyday Americans actually care about. All right, a lot of people really want to know this. How do you pee in 400 miles? I can't go 45 minutes without having to pull over.
So have you ever been in a high adrenaline moment?
Well, once. I once rode a cheetah in a movie.
Did you have to pee during that moment?
No.
Exactly.
So you're really in the zone then for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they always say if you do pee in the car, then you got to be there Monday morning to clean it out. Do you want to clean it out?
You don't have somebody for that?
They're not going to do it.
Welcome to North Carolina A&T. It's the largest historically black college in the country and a big Democratic voting bloc. But when you look at a congressional map, A&T looks like two separate colleges. It's split between District 6 and District 13. So if you move from this dorm over to that dorm, you're in a different district. with different representatives and a different polling place.
By splitting the campus into 2 separate congressional districts, it diluted the power of A&T's collective voice. So what was once 1 congressional district with an African-American representative, it is now 2 congressional districts with 2 white Republican legislators.
Have you seen people discouraged from voting because of this? Not only do you get discouragement, there's also not wanting to register at all.
It validates and affirms what young folks are saying when they say that their votes don't count.
Yeah, that's a bummer. And honestly, I haven't seen college students that disappointed since they saw me in Van Wilder 2. In my defense, that movie paid very well. Yeah. But look, this is the point of it. All of this is meant to freeze you out of the process and discourage you from participating. And I get it. It's easy as a young person to get demoralized and super high. I'm not sure why I mentioned that. Sorry. To be more clear, things are not hopeless. You know that gerrymandering at A&T? Well, it sparked a student revolt. And after a court order reunified the school, students there are now voting in record numbers. Yeah, pretty great. And it's not just them. Despite all of those barriers, young voters have shown up big in recent elections. In fact, last year, they may have made all the difference.
The Gen Zers, millennials, they're now voting in record numbers.
Gen Z voters, people born in 1997 and later, are lapping their older millennial counterparts.
I know a lot of people talk about young people talking about being engaged but not being engaged. We are seeing engagement. The energy from these young folks is real.
They all but canceled out the votes of their grandparents, of senior citizens who are some of the most reliable voters out there and also some of the most Republican voters out there.
If not for young people, we have a starkly different result. We saw not a red wave, we didn't see a blue wave, but we certainly saw a young voter, a Gen Z wave.
A Gen Z wave! Come on! Not a red wave, not a blue wave, not a millennial pink wave. So remember when I said the establishment feels threatened by you? Well, that's because when you vote, you often get a lot of the things to happen. Marriage equality, climate action, and yes, weed decriminalization. It's young people who overwhelmingly pushed to get this stuff done. So keep it up. Don't let them make you feel complacent. Because long story short, you're powerful. And that's why they're scared of you. So go make them scared.